Colourpop better not mess up this color story. That's a good dupe if I've ever seen one. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. That was super sweet of you. Oh my goodness, look at my little Powerpuff Girl vibes today. I got the blue, red, and the pink butterfly clips, giving you a little bit of a Y2K moment, as I always am with my butterfly clips, but today I have 3 on each side, and that's like extra Y2K. You know, usually I got like, 1 on each side, maybe 2 on each side, but when you add that 3rd butterfly clip, baby, it's like we're in 2004 again. But that's not what this video is about. You did not click on this video to listen to me explain the huge difference between wearing 2 and 3 butterfly clips on each side. No, you clicked on this video because you, like me, have an interest in me duping the new Colourpop Powerpuff Girls palette. When Colourpop announced that they were collaborating with Powerpuff Girls on a collection, my Instagram and Twitter went wild with people being like, Colourpop better not mess up this color story. We've all been there when they've done collaborations in the past that have been a little lackluster. I know people had a lot of feelings about the Animal Crossing collection not being as bold as they wanted it to be. Same with the Lizzie McGuire collection. People felt like it was too close to other collections. People tend to have a lot of thoughts about Colourpop collections in general, myself included, but especially when it comes to their collaborations, people have really strong opinions, especially if they're collaborating with an intellectual property that you like my queens, the Powerpuff Girls. Yeah, we're gonna hold them to a pretty high standard. And I honestly have to say, when they announced that the palette was gonna look like this, I wasn't all that disappointed. Am I gonna buy it? Absolutely not. You're here in my duping video right now. No. But I honestly feel like they did a decent job. Of course, as everyone has said before, the top row can skip town, it can pack its bags, it can never come back. I just get so sick of seeing the same neutral 4 colors in every Colourpop palette, but I feel like they got the bold colors pretty good. So when I saw this palette, I was like, oh, I want to dupe this for sure, because I want to wear those bold, beautiful Powerpuff Girl blue, green, and pink colors all the time. So if that sounds like a topic that is interesting to you and you want to see my Colourpop Powerpuff Girls palette dupes, then I encourage you to please subscribe and keep on watching. It's coming at you right now. Okay, so whenever I do an eyeshadow palette duping video, which I've done quite a few of them before, my most recent one was also a Colourpop collab palette. I did a dupe for the Colourpop Lizzie McGuire palette. That was super fun. I'll link it down below for you. But I ran into a similar issue that I ran into with that palette, which is that every picture of the palette and of swatches looks different. Which just drives me nuts, but I know that can tend to be the nature of makeup photos on Instagram. People like to edit photos to make them look more saturated, to make them look more bold. So it can be really difficult to get a true idea of what the colors are gonna look like until the reviews start coming out, until people start getting them in person and swatching them themselves, if they don't also edit them. But the swatches I decided to go with, which I feel like are the most accurate, are from La Petite Chic Mommy on Instagram. She posted a reel of the swatches, so I felt like, since that's a video, it's harder to edit a video. It's clear she took it in natural lighting, so to me, this seems to be the most accurate of the swatches. So these are the swatches I'm gonna be going off. No more talking, let's just get right into it. Okay, so the first shade in these swatches, the one at the top left of her wrist over here, is called Townsville, and it's clearly a very sparkly shade. Colourpop didn't say what all of the formulas of this palette were yet. It looks like this shade could be a glitter, but also could be a shimmer, could be a super shock. I'm gonna be using a Colourpop Super Shock to dupe it though, and I feel like the shade Diamond from the Colourpop So Jaded palette is a perfect dupe for Townsville. Ooh, let's zoom you in so you can really see the shades. Okay, so here is my dupe of the shade Townsville. Yes, you can see she's super sparkly. I actually wish they would make a single of this shade Diamond from the Colourpop So Jaded palette, because this shade is just wet looking. It's really beautiful, but yes, a good dupe for Townsville. And I am wearing this shade on my brow bone today for a super sparkly brow bone highlight. Okay, so now in my swatch photo, you can see the shade to the right of the first one looks to be a bit of like a pinky icy shade, and I think that the shade Rose Mallow in my Midas Cosmetics Flower Bomb palette is gonna be a perfect dupe. I absolutely love this shade. It's so pretty. It's almost like a pinky purple shimmer, and Midas's shimmer formula is like top tier, absolutely top tier. Honestly, I like it a lot better than Colourpop's, but we're just going for shade dupes. This is not a product review. The shade I was duping is Professor Utonium. So here is my dupe for Professor Utonium. They almost look like they go right into each other. They are different though. You can see this is more of like a neutral, just like wet looking shade, and this is more of like a pinky shimmer. But both beautiful shades, and I feel like I have a great dupe. Alright, so the next shade I'm going to be duping is in the second row down on the left side, and the name of that shade is called the Mare. You can see it's kind of like a neutrally looking shimmer. Again, it's the first row, they're all neutrals. They're pretty boring. I'm not going to talk about them too much, but I feel like my closest dupe for that shade is going to be in my Oden's Eye Cosmetics Saga of Freja palette. I have this shade Care, which is more of a goldy neutral. This is the shade I'm duping for the Mare. This Oden's Eye shimmer formula is truly unmatched. It is so pretty. That's why I'm happy to be duping this palette, because I like all of the formulas that I have better than the Colourpop formulas, except for that Super Shock. So yeah, I am very happy to have this dupe for the shade the Mare. Okay, so the next shade I'm going to be duping is called Townsville. It is our first neutral matte in this palette. So for this shade Townsville, I'm also dipping into my Oden's Eye Saga of Freja palette. This is actually a double-sided palette, and I'm dipping into the other side of it, and this shade Truth I feel like is the most accurate to those swatches. So that is what I'm doing to dupe Townsville. Alrighty, so you can see it's definitely kind of like a mustardy neutral in my opinion. I don't know if that's totally true to the palette, but from the swatches, I feel like it's pretty true to the palette, and it's neutral AF. Oh my gosh, finally we're done with the neutrals, and now we can move on to the next row, which has some beautiful like peachy coral tones. So that first shade I'm gonna be duping is called Pokey Oaks, and it is a matte kind of corally shade. This one looks totally different in the palette pictures. It looks like a deep red, but swatched in all of them, it looks very much coral. So I'm definitely going more for like the coral peachy vibes here, and I feel like I have a really good dupe back in my Midas Cosmetics Flower Bomb palette, and I feel like my great dupe is going to be this shade Peony right here. Alrighty, and here you have it. Mine might be a tinge more peach than coral, but honestly I feel like it's very close, and with how wildly different all the pictures were, I feel like this may be as good as we're gonna get right now. Alright, so let's move on to the shimmery coral right next to that swatch in the picture, and that one is called Frenemy. And this one to me looks very like a shimmery coral gold. Like it definitely looks like it's gonna have a shift to it. It honestly looks very pretty, but luckily for me in my wallet, I already have a shade that looks exactly like that, and that is this shade in my Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions palette. I'm talking about this one right here. It's a beautiful corally gold. I love this shade, and I love that it's in the palette. So I'm duping the shade Frenemy with my Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions shade, and look at what a good dupe it is. Ugh, we got the peachy coral vibes. It's Dupe City over here, and we are moving right along to even more colors. Alright, so now moving on to this beautiful shimmery green shade, and I have such a good dupe for this one. It is called Professor X, and I'm going to dupe this shade with my Beautbean X Shroud It's Freaking Bats palette. This palette always comes out in duping videos. Why? Because it's a great palette and it's got a lot of dupes in it. So I'm gonna dip into the shade Handbook here, which is also a beautiful shimmery green that I feel like looks identical to Chemical X. Did I say Professor X? I meant Chemical X. Chemical X, Chemical X. Okay, so here is my dupe for Chemical X. This formula is unreal. I know I already said I love all the formulas I'm using today, but especially the Shroud Shimmer formula is just so good. And more than that, it's a heck of a dupe. So now let's move on to that shimmery blue shade, which is called Super Friends. Okay, so I have a great dupe for that one as well, and that shade I'm gonna take from my Oden's Eye Alva 2 palette. There's a beautiful shimmery blue in here. I feel like the swatch looked much more baby blue than it looks in the pan, like the picture of the Powerpuff Girls palette, but this one I highly suspect is a glitter. It's giving strong glitter vibes from the photo, but I personally don't like to use a ton of glitters, and it's really hard to tell. I do have a blue glitter from Colourpop in that So Jaded palette, but just to give another option as a shimmer, I'm sticking with my shimmers. So I'm gonna dip into the shade Blue Bubbles from this Alva 2 palette. Oh, Blue Bubbles, also like bubbles. Oh my gosh, I'm surprised they didn't name any of the shades after like the Powerpuff Girls themselves, but they probably named like the lip shades or something after that, so it's fine, don't worry about it. Okay, so my shade Blue Bubbles is a great dupe for the shade Super Friends. I love an icy blue shade like this so much. It's giving strong Britney Spears vibes, it's giving strong Y2K vibes, and really this whole palette is giving strong Y2K vibes. So very happy to be duping the Color Story, and I feel like this is a great dupe for that icy blue. Okay, moving right along, coming back to those corally shades. This next shade, what is it called? What is it called? Girls Rock. I thought swatched in all of the swatch pictures looks very similar to Pokey Oaks. This guy over here, I mean, swatched in all of the photos, they just look a little too similar for me. That's kind of one of the other things I was disappointed in this palette, was that not only do you have a whole row wasted on neutrals in my opinion, but you also have two shades that look pretty darn similar to each other. But regardless of my thoughts and opinions, I'm still going to dupe that shade. And the dupe that I have for this shade is also from my Alva 2 palette from Oden's Eye Cosmetics. This shade right here, Peach Juice, I think would make an excellent dupe. I definitely think this one, the shade Girls Rock that I'm duping, is a little more like bright than the first one, and I feel like Peach Juice is also a little more bright, so that's what I'm going with here. I guess it's good to have different amounts of like depth in a palette, but at the same time, like on the eyes, those aren't really gonna look all that different, you know? So whatever, but here is my dupe for the Girls Rock shade. And here I am applying that very shade to the inner portion of my eyelid, giving you a nice pop of peachy coral. All right, now moving on to the last three shades in the palette, which are all mattes, and these are clearly, to me, like these are the Powerpuff Girls shades, you know? You got the Fashionistas, which is like clearly Blossom, and then you got Silico, which is like clearly Buttercup, and then you got Rowdy Rough Boys, which is clearly Bubbles to me, but let's get into duping, because I have really good dupes for these ones. Okay, so for the shade, the Fashionistas here, you can see we got like a magenta business going on here, very much a Blossom color, and for that, I'm going to be dipping into my Midas Cosmetics Artistry palette, and I'm gonna dip into the shade called Meditate right here, because I feel like these look very, very similar. Yes, okay, I love how bold they went with this shade. I feel like they very could have easily gone pastel, and I have to say, I think the boldness of these shades is really nice. I do still feel like they kind of wasted that top row and they could have brought even more depth into it. Like you have the boldness of the mattes down here, but for your neutrals, you could have gone like a little more bold, you know, like a deep brown could have been nice in this palette if you wanted to make it more of a smoky look or something. You wanted to use a little, you know, lash line business, or for people with a deeper skin tone to have more options for transition shades, but that's not what this video is about. It's not my review. This is my dupe for the shade Fashionistas. I think it's a great dupe, and I decided to use this shade to add a little bit of a gradient next to my coral shade that I used on the inner portion of my eye, and it's so cute. Now moving on to the shade Silico, which is a buttercup green if you've ever seen one. And what could be a more perfect buttercup green than my by Melolops Radioactive palette, the shade Slime. Slime is a buttercup color. You cannot tell me anything else, and I feel like it's gonna be a really good dupe for the shade Silico. Yes, oh, that's such a good buttercup color. I love it so much. Oh, that looks so pretty. I decided to use this shade as the outer part of my graphic wing eyeshadow shape, and I think personally it tied the whole look together. All right, and now for our last shade in the palette. Oh my goodness, this video has literally flown by. We have Rowdy Rough Boys, which clearly we got our Bubbles matte right here, and I think it's a really good one. Again, I'm very happy that they didn't go with pastels and instead went with very bold colors for these very bold Powerpuff Girls. Okay, and for my dupe for the shade Rowdy Rough Boys, I want to dip into my Midas Cosmetics Flower Bomb palette again, because I think that this shade Hydrangea right here is a perfect dupe for Rowdy Rough Boys. All right, let's tie this color story together, shall we? Ooh, that is such a beautiful blue. Oh my gosh, yes, that's a good dupe if I've ever seen one. And here I am adding that shade to the outer portion of my eyelid, and might I add, looking very bold and glamorous. Okay folks, and here you freaking have it. Here are my dupes for the Colourpop Powerpuff Girls palette. Let's do a little side by side. Let me zoom out a little bit and I'll put them next to each other so you can decide for yourself if I did a good job. If you think I did a good job, you are legally obligated to tell me in the comments. I'm sorry, you'll have to talk to my lawyer. My lawyer, of course, is Bert, so please send your complaints his way. But yeah, I feel like I did a good job, you know? Especially going off of La Petite Chic Mommy's photo, like I said a million times, I feel like hers are the most accurate swatches to probably what they look like in real life, since she did them in natural lighting, and since it was a video, not that you can't edit the coloring in a video, but it certainly is harder to fake in a video, you know, than like a static photo, at least least I think that. So I feel like this is a pretty good dupe, you know? I really like this color story. Like I've said 1,000 times, I think the neutrals are irrelevant. I feel like if you have any neutrals in your collection, you probably already have these top 4 shades. I don't think there's anything unique about them. The other thing that bothers me about this palette is how these 2 shades are particularly repetitive, not only in my swatches, but in La Petite Chic Mommy swatches as well, and she has the real palette. So I think that those are a little repetitive, but I honestly think if they just made like a 6-pan of these last 6 shades, that would be more intriguing to me. I feel like 12 shades was just a little much for this collection, or if you were gonna do 12 shades, why not throw in some purples, you know? There's definitely purple in the Powerpuff Girls show. You could have thrown a purple in there too in replacement of one of those neutrals, or like I said earlier, you could have added some depth in your neutrals if you wanted to do neutrals at all, you know? Give us a deep chestnut brown, or put a black in there, you know? A black would have been awesome, actually. Big missed opportunity on not putting a black in there. But who am I to say? I don't make makeup, I just make videos roasting makeup and making duping videos. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about my dupes here today. Are you gonna be buying this new Colourpop Powerpuff Girls collection, or are you gonna try to dupe it in your own collection? I love making duping videos because it definitely helps me to resist new makeup releases, and I am on a makeup low buy in the year 2021. I'm like trying so hard not to touch everything with my fingers, but yeah, it really helps me on my makeup low buy to dupe eyeshadow palettes in my own collection. I also did a video a few months back where I swatched every single eyeshadow in my collection so that I could have pictures of them all lined up so I could see the colors that I have in my collection. I'll link that video down below if you're interested. I have a lot of resources in how to advise you to look to your own collection before making makeup purchases, but again, no judgment if you want to just buy this palette because you like the Powerpuff Girls and you want to have the cute packaging in your collection. There is so much value to that too, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this new Colourpop Powerpuff Girls collection and what you thought of my dupes. So I thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That really does help my channel quite a bit, so I so appreciate it. Also, subscribe to my channel. If you're new here, I'd love to have you. I make a ton of eyeshadow palette duping videos, and I'm always open to requests. If there's a palette you want to see me dupe, do let me know. Also, check out my description box for all of the eyeshadows I used today. I'll list all of those palettes for you down there in order. Also in my description box, I will have a bunch of Black Lives Matter resources to support the Asian American community, and resources to support the LGBTQ+ community. So please click on those links if you haven't yet. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!